Let's talk about web pages with GitHub. The idea is that you can transform your some text file in a very nice looking web page. And to do that, you just need to go to the settings of your repository. Once you do that, which I'm going to show in a moment, you will be able to basically edit the contents of your web page. And finally, you are going to render that into an HTML file. Well, actually not you, GitHub is going to do it for you. So that text, plain text, is going to look something like this. So let's do just that. So let's create a new repository. Let's say new repository here. Let's do my repo, my demo repo as a description. I'm going to make this repository public. I'm going to choose to create this repo with a README file. I hit here in create repository, and here is my repo. For now, all that it reads in the front page of my repo is the title of the repo and that description that I tagged, and I could change that from here too. I could say, I could improve here repository, for example, and a period at the end. So this is nothing new for now. This is stuff that we already covered. But what if I want to create a web page for this repository? Well, then I go to settings, and I scroll down a little bit to the section GitHub pages. And what I'm going to do is just to choose a theme. You can choose a number of press-defined themes. I tend to be pretty boring, and I choose the minimal theme. When I click that, that's pretty much all you need to do. When I click that, my website or my page becomes published at this address, which you will notice it has a very consistent pattern. So it is the name of your user, followed by github.io, and then followed by the name of the repository. So if I now click there, the README file that I wrote is now transformed into a much nicer looking web page. Right? So let's go one step back to what if I want to change that and do something more interesting here? Well, I could say, I could add content here, hello world. You could add a link to somewhere. For example, let's add a link to the slides. That this link to slides. I could do it basically just plainly, or I could say something like slides and paste a link here. And then what happens is that if you paste the whole link, it is just a boring link. And if you use the syntax that I used before, then you can transform that link, like you can hide that link under some word. So I'm going to consider this done. Let's say that that's all I want to change in my web page. So now if I go to the address of my web page, so it's remember name of the repo, github.io, and then the name of the repo. That's the address of the web page specific for that repo. This hasn't yet loaded, but now I refresh the page and you can see how the content has been added. So this is just a page. You can imagine adding more links, adding more information, adding your CV, adding images, videos, whatever you want to, whatever you could do on any web page, you could do here as well. Yeah, so that is exactly what we have covered. And then there is one more interesting trick. There is one special repo that can help you create a user-wide page. So what does this mean? Before I show you how to create a repository-specific page, so one repository inside my account, and I could have many repositories, many repositories, and each of those could have their own page. But what if I want to have a user-wide web page? For example, a web page where I can say something about me or about my work, something that is at a higher level of hierarchy, and then within that, all my repository pages could be nested. Well, the trick is to create a very specifically named repository, which has to have the name of. I'm going to show you by example, because this can get a little tricky. So say that this is the page you want to create. I want to create a page that is the home of my user account. Well, to do that, what you need to do is to create a repo that is called. Let's search for repositories here. That is called like your user account, and there you go, GitHub. I'm going to type it because I'm going to use github.io. I'm going to use this text. So when you name a repository specifically with your username .github.io, that repository is the one that contains the page that is at the level of the entire username. So you can see it looks a little odd because it's my username and then again my username.github.io. This last bit here is just the name of the repository. And the way I created my user page is just by going to settings, as I showed you before, and doing exactly the same thing that we did before. So when you edit that page, what you get is at the link username.github.io, you get the contents at the highest level of hierarchy. And then that is, imagine that that's the home. So if I now go / my repo, I could be asking for the page of the repository, my repo. So it is with this trick, the structure becomes pretty nice because you can think of maurolepore.github.io being the home, and then this one being a page, my repo being a page within that home. So let's do enter there, and this is the page that I showed you before. And because I use the same theme for both, they are consistent, so they really look like the home and the page of a website, basically. If you got confused by my talk, or if you want to learn more, there is very, very cool information here on GitHub. GitHub pages.io, pages.github.com, and this other link here as well. It explains again, what's this idea of the structure of the name that you need to use for your user-wide page, and also for your organization-wide page, which we are going to talk about next.